Welcome to the heritage of our fathers.
Welcome to the heritage of our fathers. Today we will be talking about the decline of European trade and Benin's cultural shift. In the heart of the great West African rainforest, where the moats of Benin City arose also the great walls of the Benin Kingdom, a transformation was unfolding. The 1700s dawned, and the once thunderous rhythm of European ships docking at the Benin coastline began to soften. The Portuguese caravels that had once filled the horizon with their white sails now appeared fewer, their trade less essential to the heartbeat of the kingdom. The Oba and his chiefs,
from this day forward,
diplomacy,
Benin will limit its trade with the Europeans.
Away from the Atlantic and back to the ancient soul of Edo land. For 2 centuries before, European merchants had lined the coast, hungry for ivory, pepper, palm oil and slaves. The Kingdom of Benin, under its warrior kings like Oba Esigye and Oba Ohogbua, had built alliances and wielded naval power to secure its influence. European firearms, glass beads, and cloth were traded for Benin's wealth, and the arts flourished under foreign curiosity. Bronze casters immortalized battles in brass. Ivory carvers shaped tusks into spirals of myth and history. But by the 18th century, the rhythm had shifted. The transatlantic slave trade, which had drained the coasts of West Africa, grew brutal and unstable. Benin, unlike many of its neighbors, never made slavery its core economy. To the Obas, the kingdom's soul was not for sale. As the slave trade intensified, Benin withdrew, refusing to flood its markets
this
with
day
its
forward,
own people.
Benin will limit its trade with
Once
the
alive
Europeans.
with shouts in Portuguese and Edo tongues, grew silent. The white sails vanished, and the kingdom's gates, still high and red with laterite, shut tighter against foreign greed. Inside the moats and walls of Benin City, the kingdom found strength not in loss but in rediscovery. The guilds, blacksmiths, bronze casters, ivory carvers, and woodworkers rose again in importance. The Igun Eronwun, the bronze casting guild, produced plaques and sculptures not for Portuguese patrons, but for the Oba's palace. Each plaque told stories of ancestors, gods, and the eternal bond between the Oba and the Edo people. The ivory carvers, once supplying European traders, turned their artistry inward. They carved for shrines of ancestors, for altars dedicated to the spirit, for the sacred spaces where tradition and faith lived. Masks of ivory were no longer commodities, but became emblems of identity. Their gleaming surfaces reflected the belief that the kingdom's spirit was eternal, untouched by foreign winds. Religion itself deepened. The Oba, already divine in the eyes of the Edo, strengthened his role as spiritual leader. Priests and diviners held greater influence, their rituals guiding the kingdom through uncertain times. Festivals grew richer. The Igwe festival, honoring the Oba's divine essence, became even more elaborate. Ceremonies filled with coral beads, white chalk, ancestral songs, and sacred dances reminded the people that their strength lay in their traditions. Not in European markets, foreigners noticed the shift. Travelers who came inland in the late 18th century described a kingdom less open to outsiders, but more dazzling in culture than ever before. They marveled at the great palace, courtyards where bronze heads stared with piercing eyes, each one a memory of a past Oba, each one a claim to eternal continuity. Even as European powers grew more aggressive along the coast, fighting wars for control of trade, Benin remained cautious and deliberate. Its kings and chiefs restricted contact, allowing only limited trade in goods like pepper and cloth. Guns and powder, once traded eagerly, were now scarce. This was not weakness, it was strategy. Benin chose to preserve itself, while around it, other kingdoms bled under European manipulation. The shift was not without cost. Some revenues declined, and the coastal influence Benin once wielded grew smaller. Lagos, once a colony established under Benin's naval might, slipped into the orbit of new powers. Yet inside the moats, the kingdom was alive, strong, and culturally indomitable. Where European ships could not anchor, memory and spirit took root. In the workshops of Benin City, Apprentices hammered bronze and whispered prayers to their guild spirits. Coral-beaded chiefs processed through red earth streets, their steps measured to the rhythm of sacred drums. Women adorned in wrappers of white cloth and coral, bangles carried offerings to shrines. Children listened to folk tales of the great Obas who had expanded the kingdom, while their elders reminded them the strength of Edo was not in foreign trade, but in the heart of its traditions. And so, in the centuries of decline in European trade, the Kingdom of Benin did not wither, it transformed. It chose culture over commerce, identity over dependency. When the world turned its gaze elsewhere, Benin turned its gaze to the eternal. The ancestors, the Oba, the gods, and the crafts that defined its civilization. By the dawn of the 19th century, the kingdom stood as a paradox, less a player in European trade, yet more culturally radiant than ever. Its walls still stood, its moat still guarded, and its spirit, preserved in bronze and ivory, was unbroken. What outsiders mistook for decline was in truth a cultural flowering, a return to the essence of Edo civilization. For centuries, the echoes of this decision resounded. When the British came with their guns and greed in the late 19th century, what they found was not a hollow kingdom, but all one filled with centuries of art, tradition, and spirit, so powerful that even conquest could not erase it. The decline in European trade is not a tale of weakness, but of strength. It is the story of a kingdom that chose itself over foreign demand, that turned inward to preserve what outsiders could never truly understand. In the silence of empty ports, in the clang of bronze hammers, in the chanting of priests, the Kingdom of Benin declared to the world, Edo. Benin lives, Benin does not fall. With this, we have come to today's history. Thank you for watching, and God bless. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel.